Very nice, very nice. Adam, you talked about earlier on you sometimes are punting for categories. Let's talk about some advanced strategies. So, like, we have some folks in my community or anyone who's catching this that might be a little more advanced in terms of playing fantasy basketball, and they're thinking about combining categories. Talk to me about some common strategies that you've used or what you would recommend for folks who are thinking about combining categories for their strategy this year.
Yeah, so like I said, I'm not afraid to punt for categories, but I wouldn't recommend it unless you. I mean, I guess again, I'm in so many leagues that I'm like, well, what the hell? I'll just try it and see what happens. But if you're only in one league and everything is invested in this one league, you probably don't want to do it. Um, a strategy that worked for me a lot last season was punting rebounds and blocks and field goal percentage. So three big man categories and just going guard heavy. And that's why I knew that Nikola Vucevic was a good fit because I had him on a lot of my teams last season. Um, that tended to work for me. Like I said sort of earlier on, I tend to split the categories into two columns, but the ones that are a bit borderline are points and threes because you can get that from the center or the guard position or forward. Um, that said, points tend to be easier to get from guards. There's more guards, wing players who score than there are centers. So if you don't want to punt points, you're probably going to need to target more guards than bigs. So that worked for me last season in a lot of leagues. I punted those three categories, um, and just sort of and then got big guys. So Shengun was another one that I had on a few teams last season, because he gives you some assists. He's not a great defender, but he gets you a steal a game. He can hit a three. So that worked for me, and I like to experiment. But I think that kind of punt strategy would probably work again this year. But like I said, I'm interested to try the punt points strategy this year because I think it will just so many people focus on points that it will just open the door to find value with a lot of guys who are floating around that managers are looking at going, you only give me 14 points a game where this guy gives me 19 points a game. So I'm going to go with that guy. Um, so yeah, I'm going to try that idea, I think.
Are there any strategies around combining categories that you would recommend folks to stay away from?
Uh, yeah, I mean, if you look at it from I guess, a logical standpoint, it's going to be tough to punt. So assists and rebounds, because then that's sort of a guard category and a big category. So which path am I going there? Um, so cross punting, I suppose you could call it. I don't know where you punt from one from each side is tricky to do. I did try to do it in a league last year and it didn't work. I can't remember exactly what it was. It sort of was working, but I know I was relying on points, and I think I drafted Ja Morant and Zion. So when they were playing, I was going really well, but then Zion basically missed the rest of the season, and so I couldn't do anything. Um, so that would probably be the only thing I'd try to avoid is punting one from like a big man category and a guard category. Um, you might as well not punt, and probably punting. I don't know, two categories, I think, is probably a good number to start with, one or two. So maybe you just punt blocks and rebounds, or maybe you just punt assists and steals. They're probably the two easiest ones to do. And then if it works, build on that next year. But I mean, like we said at the top, you don't have to punt. And if everyone in your league is going to punt, then don't punt. So do the opposite and just go with best player available.